Greetings one and all, this is Rhythm Works and welcome to my channel, and today I am pleased and honoured to have one of the leading contributors to the Fight Night series. In fact, one of the leading contributors to, to gaming channels in general. I'm talking about the cheeky chappy, the man with the impregnable try-hard pants. I bring to you none other than K Sakuraba 1982. It's a pleasure to have you on board, so please make yourself known to the people and the world.
Hello there guys, it's Sakuraba 1982, flying to you from the UK.
I just need to ask you some questions real quick. First of all, when did you get first introduced to the Fight Night series, and what installment, importantly, was you introduced to?
Well, I'm a little bit older than some of the other guys you've interviewed. My actual first introduction to the Fight Night series was when it was called Knockout Kings, which was on the original PlayStation 1, its first iteration, and it was quite an arcade button. It's nothing like what you see in the sort of this generation of consoles. And then I played several of the PS2 Knockout Kings, 2001, 2002. Moved on to this generation. I played Fight Night Round 3. That was the first time I played Fight Night Online. I was quite heavily into that. I actually went back to that recently, and it doesn't hold up in memory so well as it did, as nostalgia would have me believe. I played Round 4. Kind of went off the Fight Night series for a little bit. I bought Champion when I played the demo, which was really cool. Played a lot of Fight Night Round 5. Fight Night Champion. I went off it for a little while when I played online for a while, and then it was Fight Night's Finest and Relapse who got me back into it, and plus I've been starting posting commentary on YouTube with it. So I've got quite a long storied history with the Fight Night series.
So you're basically really the go-to man when it comes to Fight Night and everything that is integrated within the Fight Night series, I take it, because obviously, from PS1, it cannot be argued whatsoever that you definitely have got knowledge of the series. Now, next question I need to ask you, because we're on Fight Night Champion, this is the game that we're basically concentrating on now, and I need to ask you, upon playing, in fact, let's go to the demo, because the demo of Fight Night Champion was a very unique thing, where with Round 4, they had the demo available, but it wasn't an online demo. So with Fight Night Champion online demo being made available to the fans, what was your take on that originally, and subsequently upon release of Fight Night Champion, what was the factors that really ticked the boxes for you?
I think the first thing that kind of struck me when I played the Fight Night Champion demo was I think this is the first game you could really box. I remember putting it on and saying, kind of, if your ally actually box and use a boxing strategy, you can use it as an outside fighter or Tyson as an inside fighter. Round 4, before it, for example, before it was patched, for the inside fighter, it would kind of be glued to the outside fighter, and it never felt like a legitimate boxing match. I think when I first played Champion, even just the demo or against my friends, it's the first one you can actually think like that particular style of fighter. You could think like a brawler, and your strategy as a brawler would actually work. It wasn't kind of cookie cutter, just rock and sock and robots like the previous games, And I remember playing some of my friends online, and I was absolutely blown away by it, to be honest. It just felt like boxing. It looked more like boxing than any other game that I'd played. I think back it was a short demo. I can't remember exactly how many rounds it was, but basically I played that, and I had no reservations whatsoever about buying the game on day one. And I played through the story mode as Andre Bishop, absolutely stunning, about as many boxing cliches as you can get. It's Rocky, it's a Dale movie, it's absolutely everything. And then you went to the online, and I kind of dove into that, and just the way that, like I say, there's so many different strategies you can use, because it's as realistic. This is as good a boxing game we've ever had as a game in public. There's been nothing that can really touch this, in my opinion, so far.
I came into the Fight Night series from Round 4. The clear difference between Round 4 and Fight Night Champion was kind of like night and day, And at the online demo, when that came out, that was one of the page turners for me, because obviously, you know, we never really had a chance to basically fight other online players, and it was basically set as 3-round bouts between Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali and Miguel Cotto and Manny Pacquiao. So
right,
yeah, so it was basically, you know, a choice between the two weights, and it was very, very, very exciting to play. It's like it's I can't explain it. It's like I could feel the excitement that everybody else was feeling when they played the game. That was for sure, you know, because of the stark differences between round 4 and champion. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you, what were the things that you basically disliked? And I mean, it can be technically based, it can be socially based, but what are the things that really kind of ticked you off with the game?
Yeah, okay. As much as we mentioned that this is as good as we've ever had it as a community as far as boxing goes, there are a few things about this game that make me want to take an electric sander to my genital region, to be honest. I think the main ones, technically, they never did get, it doesn't matter how many patches they released, they never did quite get around to fix the boxing freezing issue. I think you find it just before you knock someone out, the game will freeze for a second, and it kind of really takes you out the moment, you know. There's no other game that I've played where my adrenaline pumps the same way as if I'm sparring in real life or if I'm, you know, watching a combat sport live. But that freezing just kind of really takes you out of the moment. You duck and weave, you land this power straight right, bang, you've caught him, he's about to go down, and it's like, freeze. And you're like, man, really? that's awful, man. That kind of really takes you out of the moment. They've done very well with the balancing of the game with patches. And to be honest, it's a completely different game now online when I started till now, because I had a break of maybe 6 months before I met Fight Night's Finest and Relapse, and before you had Perfect Block and things like that. But the game is still very much catered to the outside fighter, and that's a community thing. And I play on my channel, I play a lot of fighting games, and it's no different. Whatever you play, if it's Street Fighter, UFC, anything, people would take the path of least resistance. If it means they have to pick Isaac Frost or Mike Tyson constantly, or if they have to back step, power straight right, step uppercut, that's just a community thing. That's not Fight Night's champion as a game. It's the way people will always take the path of least resistance, and sometimes when you work really hard to get a win and put your try-hard pants on and go for that sweaty comeback, and you get cheesed with, you know, someone who uses the path of least resistance, it can be a little bit frustrating. But again, that's a community thing, that's not a game thing, and it's human nature. Everyone will take the path of least resistance, and sometimes, I mean, I think everyone's prone to getting the odd moment of rage when they play any fighting game anyway, so I think that's more of a community thing rather than a Fight Night champion thing. I mean, I played Fight Night round 4, I went back to it on my channel a couple of weeks ago. I played Muhammad Ali, who just backstep and just threw the power straight right for like 5 rounds before I knocked him out. So again, it's not exclusive to Fight Night Champion, but it's a community thing, so I suppose it is kind of integrated. I think they've done quite well with patching it to eliminate lots of those things. I mean, Perfect Block was a nightmare, if you remember that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember that, and that kind of neatly leads me to the question in relation to the patches. I asked Relapse, which of the patches did he feel comfortable with, and which of the patches basically done the game more harm than good? And I'm going to put the same question to you.
If you bear in mind, when I mentioned before, I had a bit of a break from the game competitively anyway, before Fight Night. So I've got knowledge of the beginning and of kind of now. So when I first came in, I can't remember which patch it was, the initial tactic for everybody was to stomach jab, because there was no stamina drain, and I believe they patched it for a time where if you run backwards you lost stamina. So that kind of changed everyone's gameplay. They came forward a lot more, and then the Perfect Block, people would kind of pump block and you know, hit you with them straight rights, but all of that's gone now. So I do apologise, whatever collective amount of patches have got it to this point now, this is as good as it's ever been. I think that the removal of Perfect Block is the main thing that I think really works, because it just doesn't feel natural to boxing, does it? I mean, if someone kind of puts their arms in front of their face at the right second, they can suddenly get a counter and knock you out. It doesn't quite work like that in the ring, so I'm sorry I can't be a little bit more descriptive than that in my answer. But,
oh no, you'll be more than concise in actually, you know, what patches you were basically happy with. Now my thing with the game is that with all the patches that was basically implemented, there are people who play the game that makes the game look really, really good. They're just basically utilizing the sim nature of the game. But then you have the elements that basically use the spamming and all of that stuff. And like you said, like you rightfully said, it's a community thing, and it's a thing of resistance. So, say for example, in the next release of Fight Night, which, I mean, I think it's going to be a given that it's going to be released on the next generation console. EA is knocking on your door for a cup of tea and a chocolate biscuit, and they want to basically say, Sakuraba, you're the man with a plan to make Fight Night Round 6 working title the way it needs to be made for us to roll it out universally. What improvements do we need to implement in the game, and what can basically stay? The floor is yours, Sakuraba.
Well, I think firstly the main thing is they would have to give me a packet of chocolate hobnobs if they wanted me to give me their ideas. Otherwise, I wouldn't be interested. Apart from that, joking aside, I think in my mind, when I think of Fight Night, what I want, do you know when they first show you the game, and you know in your mind it's full motion video, it's not what they're going to release. It's the same in UFC as well, and they show them slipping punches and ducking and weaving and making it look like a real boxing match. I mean, that's just the general thing. When they show that first kind of full motion video and you haven't seen any gameplay yet, that's how I want it to be. I don't want, at the moment, I mean, the tactics you've got for people is they can backstep and throw punches, and although it's not sim boxing, it just doesn't look like real boxing to me, you know? It doesn't feel like a real boxing. If you watch a boxing match, they'll have their guard up and they'll use their elbows, duck and kind of slip punches and counter off things, you know, rather than kind of doing full leans. It's like for example, Mike Tyson in the Fight Night Champion at the moment. When he does his duck and weave, that's exactly how he used to fight. He'd duck, leave, and weave and throw uppercuts. It just at the moment just doesn't look quite natural, and I think that's something to do with the engine. And I think they're going to have to completely remake the engine to make it more realistic. And at the end of the day, what we all want is a more realistic boxing experience. You know.
I agree. No, sorry to cut you there. You know, but I totally agree with you, and I think with the next generation of consoles, bearing in mind they've got to think about the console being 4K ready, 8K ready, and all that kind of stuff. So I do think that, you know, they're going to have to up their game. I don't think they can really stick with the engine that they basically have, because obviously, you know, how we're viewing the gameplays and all that kind of stuff is going to basically be a game changer as well. So I think Sony, you know, and you know Sony, they're very innovative with their TVs as well. So I think with the onset and the advent of 4K TVs coming out and 8K TVs coming out, the mechanics has got to match up with that, or else it's just not going to make any sense. And I think with EA being involved in so much launch titles as well, and also them being involved in the UFC. I mean, I'm not really familiar with the UFC franchise, and I'm not an authority to basically give an opinion on that. But I think, you know, I would assume that with all the interest that has been paid towards it by EA, that they're gonna basically pull out all the stops in that situation for the gameplays for their future games, and on the next generation consoles, they're going to definitely up their game with that. So I think it's only going to be natural for Fight Night and Tiger Woods and Madden to basically follow suit. So when I look at games and look at trailers, unless I see actual game footage, is like, you know, my belief is suspended. You know what I mean? You know, it's like,
yeah, definitely, man.
You know, so for me, it's like that's where my mindset is, and I think it's because of the fact that they have to put a disclaimer to say that it's not actual gameplay footage, that you know, that's been a result of people's disillusion with certain titles.
EA as a company, I promised this to be last month I mentioned UFC, but I see it as a combat sport thing. They didn't actually want anything to do with UFC when they were approached before THQ. Now UFC is a big entity. They wanted the franchise. So let's hope they do with Fight Night and all the combat sports. Let's just make it as realistic as possible, because in the end of the day, you've got people who dabble in combat sports, but people, I think, who have a real love for combat contact sports want realism, and that is what we want. And just everything else aside, even if it looks awful, if there's realism, I think that's what everyone who loves boxing and combat sports, I think we just want realism. And this game here, Fight Night Champion, has taken such a good step towards that. I mean, this game, Mike Tyson punches like Mike Tyson. George Foreman walks and punches like George Foreman. You know, it's such a step forward. You imagine what it's going to be like in the next generation.
It is going to be awesome, but I think with the lack of information that's coming from EA's standpoint in relation to Fight Night, you know, a lot of people's thinking, you know, if EA is even going to have control of it, is 2K going to basically take up the fold? I think it's very intriguing that nothing's really being said about the game, and when nothing's being said about the game, you know they're up to something. My next question to you, within the gaming community, you have been involved in it for quite a considerable amount of time. Oh, and before I even go any further, I must congratulate you on your YouTube partnership. Well deserved. You know, within your experience and your time, you know, that you do take out in, you know, putting out so much good content on your channel and meeting up with the community that you meet up with. With Fight Night Champion, because I've got to stay with Fight Night Champion.
Sure.
Who has basically been the cats that's basically inspired you? Who has been the people that's basically kind of, you know, kept you going throughout this whole thing? Because obviously, you know, within the whole gaming community, there's positives and negatives as with everything else. But with Fight Night Champion in particular, who has been the people that's basically inspired you, and who are the people to, you know, to watch out for in terms of, you know, them setting up gaming channels? Because obviously, you know, your channel is more advanced, and I mean advanced in terms of time, the amount of time that you've basically had the channel up to begin with, and there's other cats that's basically doing it that's got some great content as well. But, you know, please tell us who, from your perspective, from your standpoint, who you've been watching and who you rate and who you hope for great things in the future.
There's one main person I'm going to refer to. There are some others. After I first played Fight Night Champion, I had a break because at that point I just wasn't at a level competitively where I could. I was an all-out brawler, balls to the wall, swinging like a madman. I got knocked out as much as I knocked them out. So I had a 6-month break. A young chap called Fight Night's Finest, you've already interviewed him, approached me. He had 7 subscribers at that time. And he said, look, I'm trying really hard. Can you have a look at my content? What am I doing wrong? Approached me in completely the correct way. You know, so I checked him out. I've got, you know, had a bit of contact with him and tried to help him a little bit with his channel. And to be honest, it was him who got me back into the Fight Night scene. He kind of gave me some tips on what I was doing wrong in Fight Night as a game itself. You know, my tactics, why I was getting knocked out. And for his age, he's 17 now. I think he's a stunning little commentator in my opinion, and in a lot of ways I think he's a better commentator than me, even though he doesn't know it yet. I've got a lot of respect for him. I really, really have. And I think give him a little bit of time and he's probably going to be one of the biggest, if not maybe the biggest standalone Fight Night commentator in my opinion. Honestly, I do. He doesn't know it yet, but he will be.
Well, this is it, because I mean, like yourself, I mean, I had experience interviewing Fight Night's Finest, and the one thing that amazed me was that, you know, that dude has got such a solid head on his shoulders, and you know, I didn't even know the guy was 17 until a couple of days ago, and I had to just link him the other day and say, Kid Ray, is like, you know, you've really got prospects of not only with the YouTube partnership, but actually being a moderator and a consultant for these sports games, because not only Fight Night that you have interest in, you are interested in Madden and UFC and the like. And I think, you know, he's a very articulate, concise, technical dude that explains things in a way that you know, it commands your attention. Do you know what I'm saying? And
I completely agree.
you know,
Completely agree.
and it far reaches further than his years. And like you have, I said to him that he's definitely got the potential to take it even further. And you know, and any help he basically needs, I'm more than willing to help out. You know, I mean, this is the reason why I actually started doing the Big Up series, and it wasn't really particularly for Fight Night Champion per se. It was basically to big up, you know, all the veteran players and the new cats, and to kind of bring them together on, you know, through different games. But I found that with the content that I was basically putting up with Fight Night Champion, I had more responses for that. So I decided, okay, well, you know, kill 24 birds with one stone kind of thing. You know, try and get something to do, to be innovative and do something that's going to bring, you know, a lot of the community together in a short space of time. And the Big Up series was really the thing that I started to do. And it was like really informative and enlightening to see, you know, the people who, you know, just to get viewpoints from the people behind the gamer tags, and for them to be heard, and you know, for people to kind of understand where they're basically coming from as gamers and as human beings as well, you know. So yeah, so it's all good. It's all good.
I think also a thing with the Young Fight Nights is, someone like myself, I do post a fair amount of Fight Night content as well as UFC content, but I also post a fair amount of other content as well. I post Let's Plays, I post gameplays, and I post a little bit of trolling. I do a bit of everything. But someone like Fight Night, he's very dedicated to what he does. He's a Fight Night guy through and through. I love Fight Night and combat sports and things. But some of these guys coming up are just about the Fight Night, and they're so technical. I played Fight Night's Finest once on a match I give to him on his channel, and I tried my best, all the stuff he taught me, and he's just at another level. And even the gameplay aside, and just to listen to someone of that age with that much confidence in their voice and knowledge about the game, and you'd think you're speaking to a 30-year-old man, the way he's talking.
Yeah, for real.
So mature, you know. And there are other great guys as well. You know, you got X-Relapse. I played him and he destroyed me in the first match a couple of months ago, and I wasn't too sure about him, but I got to know him a little bit. He's a great guy as well, about as laid back as you can get. There's some new guys coming up, Pemby66, Foti 400, all Dave the Rip One. There's loads of upcoming guys. This community is suddenly had an explosion, and it's cool because me, Fight Night's Finest, and X-Relapse are all kind of getting this thing going, and it's just surprising how quickly people have kind of want in on it, you know. I think it's had another explosion of content on YouTube. Even when the game was first out, I don't think we had a huge amount of people posting dedicated content for Fight Night. So I'm just glad this thing's coming back. And even though it's not my I post other stuff as well, I really enjoy the Fight Night scene. It's great, this thing's exploding again.
Absolutely, and I think it's great timing as well. Fight Night Champion is actually, you know, fulfilled its cycle, so to speak, but at the same time it's getting people, you know, interested in the game, but knowing full well that there's got to be another installment coming out very soon. And not only, you know, the installment coming out, but it coming out on a next generation console as well. That is like a double whammy within itself, you know. So I'm looking forward to what Sony's got to say on February the 20th, because they're going to make their announcement in relation to that. I just got my fingers and everything else crossed in terms of Fight Night Round 6 working title, that, you know, that we're going to witness something we've never seen the likes of before. So yeah. So my next question, well, in fact my final question to you is contacts, links, social media. How do people get in contact with you?
Obviously you've got my channel, which is Sakuraba1982 here on YouTube, and you've got my Twitter account, which is exactly the same, which is Sakuraba1982. Hit the subscribe button, you slags.
Yeah, with your impregnable triad pants on.
Yeah, sweaty comebacks all around. Everyone loves a sweaty comeback.
I believe you. But anyway, Sakuraba1982, many thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule, I know. Thank you very much for taking the time out to talk to us and giving people insight into the man behind the game attack. I mean, you do it so well on your channel anyway, but I think, you know, to be outside of your I wouldn't say comfort zone, but just be outside of your zone and speak from a different forum, from a different standpoint, and to contribute your wealth of knowledge of, you know, not just, you know, Fight Night Champion, but, you know, just gaming in general. I really appreciate you taking the time out.
It's been a real pleasure, and thanks guys for watching. Just remember, you're starting a channel, just be yourself. Don't try and impersonate, just be yourself and you'll be fine.
Yep, to thine own self be true. Thank you very much, Sakuraba. Peace out, mate, and have a good day.
Thank you, William. Nice to see you.
Likewise.